to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. I know you see me smiling. I'm smiling because this is definitely going to be a good podcast. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because there's all kind of reasons why today is going to be good. Well, let's first talk about enlightenment. Enlightenment in conjunction with that beast mentality. I call it angel wings in that total beast mindset to overcome bullshit. Let's call it what it is. Defragment the shit, the code. Defragmenting the code. That's what we're gonna call it. Today on the show, I'm pretty sure you guys, if you are trying to elevate your mind to a higher level of consciousness, and I'm not talking about religion. Let's just squash that part right off the bat before you try to tune out. We're talking about elevating your mind to a much higher level of self. And when you do this, you'd be surprised how much more effectiveness you have on people, your life, your journey, the path to that beast mindset. Today on the show, we have a beautiful young lady who's definitely resonates all of the above things that I just mentioned. She's all over TikTok. She's all over IG. I'm trying to learn all these new platforms. Blue, yellow, eggs. Every time you turn around, there's a new platform coming up, but she's on it. So let's welcome to the show the one, the only, Miss Magnificent herself, Sarah Weber. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
The crowd goes wild.
Well, after they hear this story, they can't help but to go wild or go home, one of the two. We had a decent conversation for the last 20 minutes before we even actually started to do the show, and I was truly blown away with your level of insight, and insight leading to level of consciousness. But before we get there, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are before we go down that road.
Yeah, hi. So nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on. By day, I'm a real estate investor, but my true soul mission is my YouTube channel, which is all about self-mastery and spirituality. My brand is called Spiritual Fitness. And yeah, I'm just all about expanding consciousness, being better, and helping those around you. I think there's no better way to do that than to really explore your own mind, your own consciousness, and learn the deeper, I guess you can call them secrets of the universe.
Now you're from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania,
Yes.
Steeler country, but die hard Cowboy fan. Yeah, love it.
Heck yeah, God's team.
That's almost the Bible Belt sort of area. What was that like for you growing up? Did you all? Let me go back. I know Pennsylvania. Certain parts of Pennsylvania are Quakers, and it's still the Bible Belt, part of the Midwest. What was it like growing up for you, knowing where you at now, growing up there?
So I'm actually originally from Philly. So very different from where I live now. So where I'm at is maybe like an hour and 45 minutes from there.
Hmm.
And I do like to call it Pennsyltucky. It's a very different atmosphere out there when it comes to all of that. But I will say I appreciate the slowness of it. I feel like where I'm at right now in life, the hustle and the bustle is a little too much for me.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it's been a journey. You know, I grew up Catholic as well, and I've way stepped away from that now, completely out of religion. So that's been a journey in itself.
Okay, wait, back up. Because we can ready to reinvent the movie The Matrix on this show right here. So let's back up. You grew up Catholic. You're no longer Catholic. How long? Usually, when people depart from a religious part of their life that's been instilled with them pretty much since birth, something pretty revelation had to have taken place with that. What was that took place? I know we're going to just move forward because this is probably the universe download that said start right here and that's take them down the merry-go-round. Why did you leave that? What were some of the things that happened?
So I think I was never actually fully bought into it. Even at a young age, I would ask questions, well, if so and so doesn't know about Jesus, how can they go to hell if they don't even know about him? That kind of thing. And there was just something always in my spirit that didn't sit right with it. And I just fought it. I fought it forever. And then once I obviously moved out of my parents' house, went to college, um, I kind of stepped away from any type of religion, no spirituality or anything. And then what's funny about it is when I began my spiritual awakening about 5 years ago, I actually got pulled back into Christianity for about a year. Now it was different than like, it was just non-denominational Christianity. And it actually did help me grow a little bit. But then I removed myself from it again because I just saw on a deeper level the nonsense of religion in itself. And
You mean religious
I
narcissism?
just can't unsee it now. Like I tried to get back to my roots,
Yeah.
but yeah, exactly. It was crazy being there. I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. It's not to say that I don't respect spiritual leaders like, Buddha or Jesus, but I think they have a different mission. I think they had a different mission than what all of these religions claim that they were.
Man, that's crazy because the same thing briefly happened to me growing up as a child too from the South and Baptist church and so forth. And I was fortunate that when I went on a spiritual journey, I said before I do this, let me study everybody's belief system to the best of my ability with the best with what I with the people that I got in contact with that knew what they were talking about. So from Islam to Judaism to Jehovah Witnesses, I was going through all of them, not condemning them, but I want to know. But what I found out was everybody was still looking for the same thing, and the way
Yeah.
in which they went by was either questionable, non-questionable, but they was arguing. They was all arguing over things that didn't make any sense. But they all had one mission was to elevate themselves. So you go back into the non-denominational part. Why did you go back in instead of keep following your intuition on a spiritual journey?
Isn't it always a guy?
Yeah, I like the
The
way you
uh
said
the
that.
guy that I was seeing at the time was the guy that I was seeing at the time was very into the non-denominational church, and I fought it tooth and nail, and he kind of pulled me back into it. I'm very open-minded as a person, so with the new angle, I was like, all right, I'll explore this a little bit. And so it was nice for a little bit, and I felt like I got what I needed out of it. And then I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
What part of it, because I know the viewers would be like, what part of it wasn't for you? Because everybody has their own thing, but what was it that wasn't part of you? What was you not feeling?
I think that within your spiritual journey, when you feel restriction, I think that that's a problem. And
Okay.
so we're talking about, expanding your consciousness and raising your vibration. But how can you do that when you have all these blocks and things you're not allowed to do and rules and things you shouldn't say or explore? And so that was really what it was for me.
It is so funny because I remember asking the pastors back then and years ago the same thing, and they could never give me an answer that made sense. And I was like, I remember asking one pastor, say, doesn't that not make sense to you? and he got really quiet. I don't want to mention his name because he's well known here in the city, but because he's so well known, especially in the black community, I felt really bad. It made me go, wow, you know somewhat of the truth, but you won't tell the people because you rather keep this in your pocket.
Yep.
It clearly changed my objective. But back to you. So how were what was the most shocking part of your transformation into enlightenment that happened to you? Because there's always something that they call it that moment that you began to get your downloads. Me and you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's funny because some people they talk about going through like some sort of traumatic experience, and that's what lifts them off into their spiritual awakening. Or some people just start to get curious and slowly dive into it. It was like I got hit by a truck. Um, so as I mentioned, I'm a real estate investor, and so I buy properties to flip and use rentals and stuff like that. And I was having a preliminary phone conversation with a potential seller that I was looking to possibly buy her house from her. And we're just talking, we're shooting the shit, like we're having a good time on the phone. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but she said, "Are you an empath?"
Oh,
And I said, "I don't know what that is. I never heard that term before."
right.
Side note, super funny because I just filmed a YouTube video today on like signs you might be an empath.
We'll talk
um,
about that too.
but Yeah, but she explained it to me, and the only way I can describe it is you know when Spider-Man gets bit by the spider
Yeah.
and it shows that all of his blood and his cells in his body change and then all of a sudden he has these like powers.
Mhm.
I felt physically the cells in my body change.
Wow.
And it was like nothing I've ever experienced and haven't experienced it since then. And immediately when I hung up the phone with her, I my whole life was different. I mean, all I did moving forward was start researching and learning and changing and evolving and it just went from there. So I have so much gratitude for that conversation. She has no idea what she did for me.
Tell the viewers what empath means for those that don't know to the best of your ability.
Yeah, of course. So an empath is a person. It's based off of the word empathetic. Now, most of us have empathy. Now, empaths have it. So, like, how deep do I want to get into this? We have these things called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons are basically how we feel and interact with the energies of the people and things around us.
Mhm.
So most people have just an average amount of mirror neurons. Narcissists have an absence of mirror neurons, which is why they don't feel empathy. And empaths have a surplus of these mirror neurons. So what that means is that we can actually feel on a deeper level all of the things around us, whether it's other people's emotions, physical pain, and anything along those lines. So it's definitely a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, because usually, like I just shared with you, that brief encounter, I had it happen twice, and I literally was like, you gotta go. You're literally draining me," and that's I've never said that to somebody before, but it was to the point that it was draining me so bad that I wasn't getting sick, but when they left, I felt so much better, and
Yeah.
I was like, really wow. Um, let's go back a minute. So when your spider senses start to tingle
Single. Yeah.
a little bit, what were some of the things that you started seeing actually change?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first thing I noticed, which was so wild, again, I had no embarkment into any type of spirituality. I mean, I was so resistant to Christianity growing up that this was also new to me. All of my senses heightened, like my hearing, my smell, my sight, like everything just like got better.
Mhm.
It was funny because where I lived at the time, we were right next to a major highway, and people always talked about how they could hear the tractor trailers and stuff driving by, and they were so loud, and I never heard them. Well, that day I went outside and it was like they were driving right past me, like they were in my ear. And it was I was like, what is going on? And I didn't have anyone in my life that was on a spiritual journey. I didn't even know I was on one at that point.
Right.
And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why can I see so clearly? Why can I hear so deeply? And so I'm telling you, the cells in the body definitely like upgraded or something.
Most of the times when people go on these, I don't want to say they go on these journeys because that sounds almost Little House on the Prairie type thing. I think when you begin to awaken, and when you have these awakening moments of your life, I think then the superpowers kick in to where you start to get, we talked about this, the downloads. Um, you become more clairvoyant, but more importantly, the vibrational frequency of who you attract, the law of attraction really shows its face.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so my spiritual journey, like many others, began in 2020, and it was right around this time. So it was right when like COVID and everything. And I know there was a big surge in, spiritual awakenings now that I've done research on it. Um, but I'm sorry, what was your question?
Are you getting a download?
It
Okay.
happens sometimes.
Hey, it happens all the time. So my question was, usually when you get these heightened powers of hearing, foresight, the whole 9 yards, the law of attraction usually manifests itself to where when you start to manifest and you start attracting people that are or situations that are in line with your mission, and those that are not, you begin to recognize it, and you just basically say you're in a nice way. We're not in line. And what
Right.
has a moment like that happened to you, and if so, how did that happen?
So two things when I was first like wakening up or awakening. Now that's why I was bringing all that up because 2020 was such a crazy year for a lot of people in a negative way. It was one of the best years of my life, and I made the most money I ever made, and that was like really crazy. And on top of that, it led me to quit my job, even though I was making the most I'd ever made ever because I just couldn't do it anymore. And the people I was around, right, like they just weren't resonating anymore. And even though I was doing so well for myself, I was 26 at the time financially. I just like my heart and like my soul knew I couldn't be there
Mhm.
anymore. And so I left and I had no plan. And I just knew that I would be able to figure it out.
When you say they wasn't in line, they weren't in line with your spiritual journey, or wasn't in line as far as them doing what they're supposed to do in the workforce.
I just couldn't be around their energy anymore. It was like a hard stop. I was just like, I can't be in this type of environment. It was a very salesy environment and aggressive and masculine.
Mhm.
And it was just something I couldn't do anymore. Now, I think the bigger one that I think will you'll think this is cool. So I used to have like a decent following on social media, specifically Instagram, and I did all fitness content. So like recipes, workouts, all that kind of stuff. I built it up for about 6 or 7 years. I had like maybe like 70,000-ish followers.
Mhm.
And this was before TikTok was around and everything like that. And right after my spiritual journey began, someone hacked my page and I lost it. And I never was able to get it back. And I had decided, well, let me rebrand here. And that's when I started onto the spiritual self mastery path. So it changed my entire like trajectory of my own personal branding. And it happened right around the same time.
How does that make you feel? The universe is crazy, ain't it?
It was one of those things where in the moment it was really hard. It was like all these years of posting every day and content, you know how it is. And to just be wiped away and gone. I lost all my contacts. I lost so much, but I just sat there outside, I was under a tree and I'm like, this is one of those moments that can really like make or break you in the sense of like, am I going to let this keep me down or am I going to pivot and keep going? And I was like, I'm Sarah Weber. I'm going to keep going. And so I'm really grateful for it, even though it really sucked in the moment.
You mentioned something about the work environment and the masculine energy that was taken that you was getting. I know that could interfere with your vibrational frequency at the same time. We now living in the age of enlightenment, age of Aquarius. Like I said, everybody, I know people hate to hear that, but sometimes you got to hear stuff repetitively to really, hopefully, go down and research. You know,
Right.
I don't care if you hear it 50 times. You're hearing it because you needed to hear it. But we now are living in, I don't even want to call it crazy times. I think everybody's trying to find who he, she, they, him, me, it is. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like everything you're bringing up. I've made like videos on all of this. I think we're in a transition phase where there's a lot of people that are really 3D, which doesn't make them worse than people that are tapped in and a little more awakened. It's just a different mission, but you've kind of got this 3D down here and this 5D up here, and you've got some people here and some people here, but we all live here and we're all trying to mesh, and it's kind of like magnets that are like, they're not, we keep trying to put them together and they're like this.
Mhm.
So I think that's why it feels so chaotic right now. And it's funny because so many people are scared and worried and concerned about everything that's going on, not even only in our country, but in the world. Whereas I look at it and I think, wow, just wait until we get to the other side of this. It's all happening for a reason. I do believe that. And also, when you talk about reincarnation and choosing when to reincarnate on earth, we all, in our own way, wanted to be here, to be a part of this change and to witness it. So the way I look at it is instead of being worried and concerned, lean into it and figure out why you wanted to be here at this time to witness it.
It is so funny that you said that because a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people might call it blasphemy and all kind of things, but you're 100% right. We all wrote our contracts. We all wrote the plays. We all put people in the positions to be in, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent. We wrote our own scripts on the
Right.
beginning and the end, period. I tell people, they say, well, what do you call what you're doing, Dre? I say call it breadcrumbs. It's like, what's breadcrumbs? I'm sending messages to myself in the other dimension.
I love that.
I said it's kind of like what that Doris lady did, the one that can go back in futures and all that kind of stuff, where she was talking to Nostradamus
Hmm.
and stuff, and she said, "I got his phone number." People looked at her like she's crazy. Well, how is she crazy? Because we exist in different planes. I mean, they show you that shit on television, on the movies. Did you not watch Loki, where they showed the timelines and Morpheus went back and saw himself, but he kept having the epiphany. He said, "I keep thinking about what do you say? A jet ski." He said, "I keep thinking about a jet ski." And then Loki takes him back and he goes, "Holy shit, that's me." I tell people, I just send out breadcrumbs to myself. You know what I mean? Kind of like, okay, this is me now. Where am I at? Me, George Jetson type thing. But What's your take on I know you've studied it or researched it to some degree, the theory of timelines in third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimensions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, as
Look, you're
much
just smiling. You're happy now.
well, it's because it's one of the one things that's really hard for me to grasp intellectually. And
Right.
I think part of that is because I don't know that humans are meant to fully understand it.
Hmm.
Because we're so conditioned to be on this on a linear timeline, right?
Right. Right.
And so when we think about all these layers of timelines and infinite timelines and 3D and 4D and 5D and all this stuff, it's not something that I have fully grasped yet. And I don't know if that day will ever come.
I can see you're trying to get a download. I'm looking at your eyeballs.
Yeah. I'm like, come on. Yeah. So the timeline thing, I really only understand on an intellectual level.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for me to understand that even when I go into like some deep meditations and I work with my dreams a lot and stuff like that, like lucid dreaming and stuff. It's still and that's a whole aspect of it too, is when we when we're dreaming and how that's its own timeline and that's our subconscious and there's just so much to it that I don't know that I can really give you an answer.
We just interviewed. We was fortunate and blessed to have Ethan Frice on the show. Young guy, 25 years old, invented a device about dreaming while you throughout the day and the manifestation that happens with this. It's some device. I have to watch. We have to watch the show, but it's just amazing how the universe works because he's came on our show to showcase it. And I was like, man, it was so funny because I was literally just at my desk and I was thinking to myself, every time we think about something, we're manifesting, even while we're, just sitting here like right now, whatever I'm thinking about. Well, that's this kid at 25 years old has created a device that can actually help you understand this process and how it works. So my question goes back to you. Let's go back to manifestation. Like, what's your take on that, and your theory behind manifestation? How has what you've learned in practice, how has it helped you?
Oh my gosh. It helped me since we've been filming this today, actually, because your screen was getting blurry here for me. And I was like getting a little worried that it was going to cut out. And I just decided it wasn't and it was going to clear up and be fine. And like that all happened within a second, 2 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, and it's been fine ever since. So
Okay, let me send you another message. Millions of dollars, millions of dollars.
I'm a big, big believer in manifestation. Um, now, I think there's a lot of misconceptions with it. I think it's a lot simpler than a lot of these like spiritual teachers make it out to be,
What do you
in the
mean by
sense
that?
that all it is being aware, being mindful, and deciding what your thoughts and feelings are.
Hmm.
And that's it. So, like all these techniques and strategies and things that people teach, I think what they misconstrue is that that technique is what's going to bring you the manifestation. When in reality, it's just to get you into the state, into the embodiment of being the person that you want to step into to bring in the manifestation. I
That was
think
really neat how you said that.
that
Really
I
neat how
appreciate
you said.
that.
Yeah, because you're right. Every time you go on TikTok or any social media and you search manifestation, you're going to get somebody say these 7 manifestations every day. Say these
Mhm.
everything. Well, okay, get real. Why can't I just say what I want in the here and now and focus on it, channel it, and put thought behind the manifestation? The-
Mhm. It's
It's that.
that simple. And it's so simple, it's almost hard to wrap your mind around, especially when you're new to all of this stuff. Because I've been through it, when I was in the beginning, I was testing out all these different techniques and this and that. And I'm also not going to sit here and say they don't work for some people because we're all different. And I don't believe that my way is the only way. I never think that.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, don't ever take what I say as a fact. You need to tap into your own self and find out your own truth. But yeah, manifestation is actually really simple. I think the tough part is once you understand how it really works like that, it's being consistently mindful. And I think we're so conditioned, like you mentioned in the beginning, where the way that we're indoctrined to think that people think it's crazy, like, oh, you don't control your exterior by your interior, because the way most people live is that their outside world controls how they feel and their inside and their thoughts, when in reality you have to start inside and then it projects outside.
Hmm.
And I think people get lost in the reverse and feeling like, oh no, like I'll feel this way when I get this, when in reality it's you will get this when you feel this way.
You're getting a lot of downloads.
It's
that's,
easy, when you're having conversations like this with other people that are tapped in, which I don't get to do very often. They just come in.
let's go a little bit deeper. Let's keep everybody entertained. Um, I was telling you about a brief encounter that I had with a young lady, and um, I you can and maybe you can share your insights a little bit. You did with the guy you went to church with, but I I believe that when you start to develop your Christ mind or your higher levels, call it what it is, Christ minded. And that doesn't, let me clear this once again. We're not talking about religion and we're talking about Christ enlightenment because Jesus never said, follow me. He said, learn, do what I do. He
Exactly.
was he was Christ minded. So he studied, he did these things to um ascend, to keep elevating itself. But what
Right.
I noticed, you can people start to fall off like apples when they don't resonate with you or your philosophy or your way of thinking or your intellect. Has that happened to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's actually been, for me at least, the most difficult part about this journey is not only people falling off, but the ones that I'm still close with, I feel like they don't know me anymore, even if I talk to them every other day. I feel like they don't really understand me regardless because we're not in the same frequency. So how can you understand me? And vice versa. Yeah, that part's really tough. But I've gone through it over and over and over again during this journey.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I've seen that happen. I mean, it's sad in a way, but then I have to always remember you wrote the script here. You wrote the script, and everybody, many are called and few are chosen. And what I mean by that is, everybody gets the calling. I mean, we have free will, but are you ready to receive the gift of yourself, the gift of the download, the gift of empowerment? Your sales changed. You became Spider-Man part two. You seen the transformation happen with so much.
Exactly.
Yeah, with so much. How is it enriching your life? Let's go there. How is all this enriching your life? And more importantly, this is what I tell people. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about what can I do with the strengths that I've been given, the enlightenment to ascend. And believe me, I'm not Buddha, I'm not Jesus, I'm not none of that. I'm a beast because I have that mindset. I have the strength to do these things. And if my voice can be amplified to amplify others people's voice to get a message out, and the message isn't about religion, it's about elevating your Christ mind. How was that? Tell me about your experience. How has it changed you?
So my bottom line, the reason I have even my YouTube channel and talk about all this kind of stuff is to help people, including myself, become happier and more peaceful. Like if I were to boil it down to one thing, it's so that we can be here and enjoy this life instead of running around feeling miserable and depressed and anxious and controlled all the time. So, and me, I've always been a very controlling person in the sense that like I need to know the outcomes of every, like I said, I'm a Virgo. Like I need to have a plan. I need to know this. I need to do this, over analyzing, overthinking, and going down this journey has really allowed me to slow down and find so much more peace within every situation that I'm in. And it's given me so much power in the sense that I don't feel like a victim in my life, even when things are going wrong. I am always, in the worst situations, I'm always able to find something to be grateful for from that instance.
Hmm. My next question. When you're dealing with people, and I know you get thousands of thousands, you get more questions than I get on my in my inbox. What are some of the things that people share with you in the inbox? Three, and more importantly, what are the three common things that people ask, and what are the three things that you find troublesome?
Mm, that's a good question. I will say that most of my community, whether it's whatever platform, they're not people that are super spiritually tapped in. They're not like on a you and I level. I think I reach a lot more people that are not woken up at all, or they're just on the verge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I create my content, it is I didn't know this in the beginning, but I do now. It's towards those people, so it's easily digestible. And so when I get these questions and messages and stuff, it's usually from people that are not awake yet. Here, it's still so, a lot of people are just really in that victim mentality. And I think a lot of people are looking for a quick fix. And so those are things I hear a lot. And the biggest troublesome thing for me that I hear is that a lot of people are not willing to do the work. A big thing that I always say is to lean into your triggers, and that triggers are a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
and not to run from them. Because, like, for me at this point in my journey, like, I actually like when I get triggered because it shows me something about myself that can be healed or worked on, that I can improve. Something's there that I can shift to make my life better. But most people don't want to hear that. They don't want to run into their triggers. They want to run away from them or drink them away or whatever their vice is. And I feel like if more people were to be open to leaning into their troubles, that in itself would fix a lot of their problems.
What were your triggers? What were your troubles?
Oh gosh, I have so many, even still. A big one I'll be vulnerable here that I'm going through right now is I have been single for about 5, 6 years. Dated in that time, right? But I just most recently got into a new relationship, and it is my first healthy one. I've never experienced a healthy one before.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these old triggers and traumas are coming up that was so, so unexpected for me. And, like old patterns, when I was younger and I was in relationships, I was very insecure. Um, and I'm not anymore, but it's funny because being in a relationship again after being single for so long, some of those old patterns resurface because I never had a chance to work on them because I wasn't in a relationship. Luckily, my boyfriend is very sturdy and welcoming and is able to talk about all of these things and help me kind of work through them with me. But it's been very surprising for me to have all of these things come up.
Really? Let's go even deeper.
All right. Always down for that.
We talked about the near death experience. You're 31 years old. And my question at the time was, what do you know? What do you know about that?
What do you know
What
about
you know
that?
about that? So the question is, what do you know about that? Give me your take on that.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite things to study. I've never had one. There was always like a part of me that was like, kind of wish I did, but I don't, it's lessons written in there for me. I'm envious of the experience that near-death experiencers have. But what's interesting is they all come to the same conclusion, even those that are scientists or atheists or whatever. And that is that there is this beautiful, incredible afterlife that everyone goes to. Doesn't matter how good or bad you are, those labels, right? On this human life. And specifically, I've looked a lot into, are you familiar with Dolores Cannon?
That's the lady I was talking about.
Oh,
Remember, I was telling you that she was talking to Nostradamus?
yeah.
That's the lady I was talking about. Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm a big fan of her work and her doing all like the past life regressions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she wrote this book. It's probably my favorite book. It's called I
You
want to say
probably read it.
Life After Death, maybe. I think that's what it's called. But she goes through all the questions, right, that people have. They talk about Jesus and they talk about hell and they talk about what is this? And one of the things she talks about is Adolf Hitler
Yeah.
and like what happens to people like him
Yeah. Yeah.
and that. And so like, you know,
What is,
going in,
wait a minute, don't leave them hanging because I know they want to know the people what happened to, what is her take on what happens to people like him?
they can't handle the truth. No, people like him, it was just a big life lesson. It's a lot of karma that he accumulated while he was here, and it's hard to digest this type of information where, as a soul, when we go back into that realm, uh, he's not punished for it. He might punish himself, like his soul might punish himself for getting so off track
Right.
when he was reincarnated here. But yeah, he's not like burned in hell or anything like that.
Hmm.
As terrible as a person, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, he's fine. Like, no, he was a terrible human being. I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
But the
But
whole
souls
point,
don't like to do, souls do not like to harm other souls. And people need to understand there's a big difference between being a soul energy. Let me use another word so people understand. Energy and now energy captive in human form. Now you act human form. You act as if you're dealing with both energies. You're dealing with good energy, you're dealing with bad energy. But theoretically, you don't have that. But to go back to what you were saying, um, the near death experience, we have Virginia Drake on. Was sharing you her story.
you have to send me that one. I'd love to check it out. I love that stuff.
Fabulous, fabulous woman. I mean, like I said, the universe is truly magnificent, and even bringing people that are have that enlightenment mind to help me, you know. But one thing that we did talk about, I'm gonna let you finish on your experience on the near death thing, what you think about it. But she, I told her, I said, this is one thing that I've picked up with everybody, like you just said. They all come back with one key message, another key message: love.
Every single one.
Every single one. It's kind of like you didn't know that from the beginning. They come back with, they say, it's all about love. I gotta love, I gotta love, I gotta love. So I shared with Virginia I said that has to be the most powerful. That has to be the way to eternal bliss is unconditional love with forgiveness. So to go back to the Adolf Hitler thing, nobody's justifying what he did while he was in human form. That's history. He had to deal with whatever that shit was. But the bottom line is when people have these near death things and they come back, they see the good and the bad and ugly, but they always come back and say, but it was all about love. I came back and I loved. I got to give love. I got to forgive.
Right.
And
And
I'm
not
like,
only like forgiving others, but forgiving ourselves,
yeah.
and yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. And the
No,
biggest
you,
thing it's done
no,
for
you got
me.
to watch the Shack, right?
Yeah, I do. I know you told me I need to do that. I will do that. You have my word. Next time
That's,
we talk, I will watch it. I will have watched.
that is a prime example. If somebody's confused about what we're talking about, if somebody's confused about what we're talking about as it that related to the evil part of the Adolf Hitler thing, there's a part of that movie, The Shack, Paul Young's book turned into a movie that he was forced to make a judgment.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow, that is some, even though the hatred was there for what had happened. I'm not going to tell the movie because people need to watch it. But I was like, that's some fucked up shit to be put in that situation. Now you have to judge what happens to that person.
mm, yeah. Wouldn't want to be me.
Yeah, yeah. Because you have to, like you just said, he had to put everything aside and they asked him a question and said, well, what would you do if it was your kid?
Right.
A whole different ball game. Forcing him
Exactly.
to do exactly what you said. Sometimes it's hard to sometimes we don't want to forgive people because of hurt, but sometimes that can be the best medicine for growth.
Right.
Wow, was that a download?
That was pretty good. That was a good one.
Was that a download? Okay. So
It
let's
was.
go back. So what's your continuing thought on the near death thing? I didn't mean to cut you off on that.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, my bottom line is, and what it did for my life is that it made me completely fearless of death. I have no fear of it at all because of the research I've done. And what that allows me to do in my living life is really enjoy it because I don't have to be scared of, oh, well, this is all going to be over one day, especially those that when they're getting into their senior years. I always say like those are the people that should be studying these near death experiences because you don't have to live a life of sadness and regret and well, why didn't I do this and why did I do this? Because there's so much more waiting for us on the other side. And so, yeah, it's completely wiped me free of any fear. I mean, I would be sad for like the people I love and my cats and like this one and stuff, but like I personally like don't care when I go. Like my time is my time and like looking forward to the next chapter, but also not in a rush to get there.
It's funny because Dolores talks about that. She said it's selfish. She said, yeah, we grieve back here, but it's really selfish because they've completed their mission here. They're going to a whole new, another realm. They're cool. What she said, they're cool.
Yeah, they're always good. They're always like, let them know I'm fine. I'm way better here. I'm not sick anymore. I'm not depressed anymore. I don't feel like terrible, like with my body. They just feel great. And so it's like, why fear that? Especially knowing that you're going to be reunited with all of the people that you love on the earth anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, who cares? See you in a little bit.
Now, she did say something. We're going to stick with Virginia. I'm not Virginia. We're going to stick with, she must be talking about me. Virginia Drake must be talking about me. We're going to talk about something else that Dolores said too. When she talked, I'm going to get your theory on this because you've been studying this. You don't always have to come back through the light. You can actually ask to go home, to
Hmm.
allow to allow the spells. the tongue, the spells, to open up other timelines or other portals.
Right.
What's your take on that? I'm drilling you today.
I love it. I never get a chance to really talk about this stuff with like another human. So it's nice.
I'm a mutant.
As far as like you might not be, I don't know. We got some Anunnaki here on the
We're
screen.
gonna talk about that too. So what's your take on that part about going home and going through the light?
Going through like the tunnel. Well, and then that's interesting too because not everyone reports that. From like my studies, I would say maybe like 75% do. But then I've also heard stories where they wanted to stay in the afterlife, that's what you want to call it, in the other realm. Like, but their like guides or whoever were around them told them it wasn't their time yet. So I'm not really sure. I'll never say I have an opinion on something that I'm unclear about, and that's something I'm a little unclear about.
You're gonna do your research. I already know. I can.
You already know what I'm
Yeah,
doing the rest of the weekend.
yeah. You're gonna be like diving into that. So let's talk about something else real quick. The Anunnakis. What do you know? What do you know about that? What you know about that?
What do you know about that? Yeah, I mean, and this was something too, right? Like battling, I don't know if battling is the right word, trying to leave my belief systems of Christianity behind and opening up to what could potentially have been the way humanity actually started. Because it does sound insane to like your average person when you talk about the Anunnaki and the reptilians and how the Anunnaki were the ones that created us and the reptilians kept us as slaves and all of that stuff. And so it's this constant, well, I'm not supposed to think that way, but it's like, oh, well, that's just my like indoctrined brain thinking that way.
Mhm.
So yeah, like the Anunnaki creating us basically is I don't know. I'm not fully bought into it. I think like I'm like 90% there, but there's still a part of me, and I think it's probably like my Christian background that's like it's dangerous to think that way.
Well, it's funny that you said that because that's what happened to Billy Carson. You had that he took that guy's podcast, and the guy came at him from a Christianity standpoint. The challenge, and I was like, okay, I would have never went like that if I was Billy, because you studied a whole different. What makes what you studied with the Anunnakis and so forth and all these other civilizations any different than what this guy was talking about from a Bible? Like did you
Right.
ever ask when you hear something that says the King James version? That's his version. My version is totally different than your version. Why should his version, that's in the hands of millions of people, be the law and order of the land? So
Right.
when he went to give the speech, I was like, okay, dude, you getting pissed off on you standing by something, and I'm listening to you on the podcast. It makes perfect sense. I'm not stupid. I'm very open to reason and listening, and it does make common sense. And the reason that it makes common sense is this, because I don't want to take the people down the matrix, because they're not, if they're ready, they'll find the downloads will come. But the reason I said is the simple fact is this: when you have the university, the Library of Alexandria, where Jesus and all the disciples and all these other people went to learn the healings and the mystic powers and so forth, or whatever the universe had. When we talked about this Atlantis, the city of Atlantis. When we talked about the centurions, the Minotaur, all these things that we consider Greek mythology that actually took place during the time of Atlantis, when they was doing genetic
Yep.
research, when they had time portals. And people go, oh, that don't make no sense. Dude, why do you think they got Stargate 956 on television? Why do you think they're here among us and you had to put on the special glasses to read the encoded things? They were
Right.
reptilians. Why do you think Saturday Night Live did a skit with the different people? Because you got to find a way to take different civilizations or different creations and put them together, and hopefully that they coexist. So with that said, you can't rule out topics such as the Anunnaki, such as the reptilians, because it goes far deeper. Let's talk about the Australian. I can't never pronounce the last name. Civilization, the Dogons, the Dogons. They've been around for years. Tell
Yeah.
a story that may sound ludicrous, but they kept that story alive. You know why? Because behind stories, there's some myth, there's some truth behind it. Stories don't just come out of nowhere. They have to
Exactly.
come from somewhere. You know, especially when I'm going in caves and you're seeing this shit here. I'm pretty sure you watched my favorite picture. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about my favorite picture. Ancient aliens.
No, I haven't.
Wow. Okay, you're 31 years old and you're doing all this stuff on social media and you haven't watched Ancient Aliens? Oh my God. There can't there cannot be a better series of what is going on in this world than that. If that thing
I gotta
doesn't
write this down.
if that whoever wrote that whole uh uh um thing is a brilliant it's brilliant because it challenged your mind from Easter Island to the cargo cult. I mean, it goes on and on
Mm,
to the gods.
I wrote it down. I'm gonna have to dive in and get back to you on that.
Now you got your theories on the Galactic Federation. What do you know about that? That's gonna be my new thing for you today.
I
What you
think
know
the
about that?
GFL.
What you know about that?
What do you know about that? Yeah, the GFL is awesome. Now I don't have any direct contact. Like I'm not at this time anyway, I'm not a remote viewer or anything like that. But with the research that I've done, um, there's a woman out there. Her name is, what is her name? April Elizabeth. Have you heard of her?
Your name sounds familiar. She's the one that they put the death threats on because she was exposing the Federation or something. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So she's mine. And I'm a big follower of hers, and she does a lot of the remote viewing, and she's very connected to the GFL. And especially with everything that's been going on the last, what, like 6 months with all of these things in the sky. My theory on that is mixed. Like when I go into deep meditations, part of me feels like it's the government, and then part of me feels like they are extraterrestrials. So my conclusion is that it's a mix of both. But then if you get into like alien abductions and everything like that, and the trading that goes on within the world governments and the GFL, now that's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, this goes way back into this goes way back. This goes when you're talking aliens or whatever you might want to call it, extraterrestrials. This goes all the way back past our founding forefathers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about the entire universe and keeping everything in order
Yeah,
from all the different like galaxies and planets and star systems and everything like that. And you've got all the different species. I don't even know probably most of them, but you've got like the
you got the
Lyrans,
you got the
Sirians.
Sasquatch. Remember, we
Yeah.
had the Sasquatch of Michigan guys on, and like where did they come from?
Oh, what about this thing that happened at that Miami mall this time last year? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it?
That whole thing, that's really what sparked my interest the most.
Shapeshifters.
Yeah, and how like the media completely squashed everything online, covered it up, took people's phones, wiped them, like, and no one was questioning it. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, it's that easy to sway the like no one cares enough to be like, hey, what were these 12-foot beings that were in the mall that like the news isn't reporting on? And that's
and
where I feel like the difference is between people that are tapped in and not, because the majority of people are not. And I'm like, how do you not care? Like, how are you not fascinated by this?
I think because the government tried to do this in the 70s with television, but it was some things are before its time. And you know as you know as well as anybody right now, there's a time and place for everything to surface.
Right,
And we've gotten to the point to where if you don't want people looking over here, you make them look over there. So you look over here because now you don't reinvent the wheel. To make people look this way, you talk about racism. You talk about transgender. You talk about things that does not align with the religious sector. It's
right,
called deflect or divide and conquer. Keep them over here. We'll fix it. Oh, that was a glitch in the matrix. Deja vu. That wasn't here. But
right.
you
That
got
never
1,000 people
happened.
that saw it. But no, it wasn't here. But go back over here and you stay there. So it's not that people probably don't care. People care about what they want to care about, and
Right,
people may focus on insignificant things, which is divide and conquer, and to create conflict with amongst our own species. Because
right.
the big thing you have to ask yourself, and I ask you this before we wrap up: how do we know we're not the aliens? We talked about the
Oh,
Anunnakis, and
I've been down
we
that
was
route. So we are. Like my opinion.
we was created in their images. That's what it clearly says. If you want to go to that book you read, we was created in their images to be like gods.
Right.
How do you know we're not the aliens?
Well, not only that, but if you go back to like the like Anunnaki and reptilian history and all of that, I mean, we probably have their DNA in us as well. So it's like we probably do have pieces of different extraterrestrial DNA. And it's funny because I don't know if you've ever researched like dormant DNA and how even scientists say
Oh,
like
you call
it's
it junk? They call it junk DNA.
yeah, like what do you mean? Like what do you mean junk DNA? It's freaking alien DNA.
I just had this conversation with somebody. I shared that with you, and we was talking about the word amen. I said I don't use that word, and the person said why? I said because I know its origin, and they was like, what do you mean origin? And I can tell right off the bat that they were going to fin a religious part of that than to really dive deep. So I ended it by saying this: you like Chat GTP? And they go, yeah. I said, why
Use
don't you?
it, yeah.
I said, why don't you really program? I said, do like this. Awake your Chat GTP. They said, what do you mean awaken? I said, don't just ask it basic questions. Put the right questions in there and awaken it. Give it a name. Hey, if it's instead of calling Chat GPT, do it like Siri. Siri, blah blah blah, and ask it adult questions and watch where the rabbit hole goes.
Hmm.
They got
Rabbit holes are the best.
they got pissed. I say, this is the thing with what I tell people. It may not be for everybody because some people don't have the some people are not critical thinkers. They think from a fear-based mindset. No matter what you say, they're going to challenge it for fear. Fear is what keeps you hell bound. Let's call it what it is. Thanks for the download. Fear keeps you hell bound.
Right.
But enlightenment is the ability to think outside of a fear-based factor. Go down the rabbit hole. What's he gonna do? You can't harm you. You're gonna live and you're gonna die. Those are the only two
Right.
choices
Right.
that you got. So I'd rather live and find out all the rabbit hole punches to see how to navigate them than to go, well, I'm too afraid to do this because the church said I'll be condemned.
Exactly.
Like when they say, I say, okay, well, have me answer this question. If the church is going to condemn me, then what do I need to be forgiven? I'm like, I should be able to study whatever I want. I should be able to ask questions. Why should there be a good, bad, and the ugly here? If I'm
Exactly.
trying to elevate
Exactly. And that's why
for,
religion, organized religion is bullshit.
I like the way you said that, but is that another down? Was that another download?
That's just a fact.
Before we wrap up, first of all, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Definitely let have you come back. We can talk for hours.
Yeah, we definitely could.
Okay, look, you got a new relationship. Congratulations. How does he take all of this new information?
It's so funny. He's not a like very spiritually inclined person. He's very grounded and like earthly.
Yeah,
Um, and it's funny because I never thought I would be with someone like that, being so deep into all of this. But he's so curious. This is what I mentioned, I think, before we started filming. He's so curious and wants to know why I think these things. And like he finds it like fascinating, even if he himself doesn't go down the rabbit holes.
yeah.
So I feel very seen and accepted, even though we're a little different in that sense. So it's a nice balance because he keeps me a little like grounded when I want to fly away.
I don't think it's time to give him the blue pill yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sir, how can the viewers reach out to you, know more about you, follow you on your social medias?
Yeah, I am Sarah Weber Limitless on everything. That's my big thing is that we should always aim to be limitlessly ourselves with no rules and no holding back. And so Sarah Weber Limitless on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube's my biggest one. And yeah, come find me there. We have a good time.
Thank you so much for taking time out to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.